before Dram's showcase, it never crossed my mind that people could play Kaizo without save states and slow down, because that's literally all I ever did when I played SMW. So seeing someone beat Kaizo in an entirely different way, I was like, wow, I wonder if I could try to do this. So that's probably the catalyst.
Mario has been through a lot over the years, and not all of it has been Nintendo's fault. Before the days of Mario Maker levels scorching a path across the internet and the world, there was a program called Lunar Magic. Lunar Magic is a Super Mario World level editor, which first began development in February of the year 2000, and saw its first public release in September of the same year. The creator, Fusoya, had thrust onto the world a way to reimagine the original Super Mario World a full 15 years before Nintendo did the same. With Lunar Magic, even a novice could upload their ROM of Super Mario World and create new levels, overworlds, and boss fights. There was no way to possibly know what creations this would lead to. Every clip in that montage is from a game that was released within the last 9 years, which you might find odd considering that Lunar Magic is much older than that. Hi, I'm LaserBelch, guy with way too much interest in a 30-year-old children's game, and at the point of making this video, I have played and beaten over 300 Mario ROM hacks, and the vast majority of them are also from the same time period as all the games from that montage. There's a decent chance, though, that most of these games would never have happened if not for one very important game called Super Dram World by a creator named PangaeaPanga. The domino effect of Dram World helped to turn an extremely niche genre called Kaizo from this into this. To illustrate how this came about, though, we'll need quite a bit of context. Let's go back in time a bit. Lunar Magic may have been released in the year 2000, but it wouldn't actually be until 2007 that a Super Mario World hack would go truly viral, and that hack was called Kaizo Mario World. Kaizo is a term that gets thrown around a lot these days when it comes to Mario. Colloquially, it's come to mean very difficult, but the literal definition of the word Kaizo is rearranged or reconstructed, which is precisely what Kaizo Mario World's creator T. Takemoto did to the original Super Mario World. The game first caught people's attention when a series of videos were uploaded to Japanese video sharing site Nico Video, and gained further traction when those same videos were ripped by another user and uploaded to YouTube under the moniker Asshole Mario. The videos depicted Takemoto's friend/victim, R-Kiba, attempting to traverse a cruel gauntlet of levels featuring diabolical jumps, unorthodox enemy placements, and invisible blocks that actually came to be known as Kaizo blocks, which were intended to send anyone unfortunate enough to hit them straight to their doom. The videos caught fire as millions of people tuned in to see if R-Kiba could overcome the difficult levels, but also to delight at his torment. You see, there was another reason why Kaizo Mario World had become so popular so quickly. It wasn't just about how difficult the game was. There was also a strange element of comedy to the game. It was as if Takemoto was controlling Kiba like a marionette and leading him directly into the traps that he had strewn throughout the stages. A 2015 IGN article had this to say regarding this revolutionary level design philosophy. Kaizo Mario wasn't the first mean Mario hack, but it was the most polished, and the first to understand that it's not just about being as hard as possible. Punishing players is an art form. Audiences seem to agree with that sentiment, as views continue to pour in on the original uploads of Kaizo Mario World and Asshole Mario. Let's Plays began popping up over the years of other players attempting to make it through Takemoto's gauntlet, but unlike the original video series of R-Kiba playing the game, these playthroughs all had one thing in common. The people playing were using save states in order to not lose progress through the unforgiving levels. A save state is essentially a save point created by the player in a spot that would not normally allow for saving, usually while playing on an emulator. Say a difficult jump is coming up and you're afraid of losing progress if you were to fail that jump. Making a save state directly before that difficult obstacle would ensure that failing would not lose you any progress. Each individual jump and obstacle in Kaizo Mario World was so much harder than the average player's skill level at the time that people had all but unanimously agreed the game could not be beaten without this crutch. The post-goal deaths, invisible blocks that sent players flying into death pits, frame-perfect jumps, lack of power-ups, and overall tooth-grinding difficulty just left players baffled at the idea of beating the stages legitimately from start to finish. That is, until one player stepped up to the plate to show the world what was actually possible. That player was Dram55. Dram was a Super Mario World speedrunner, and a damn good one too. He was actually so far ahead of his time as a player that even a decade after posting his speedrun times, with loads of new optimizations and strategies having been discovered since, his times are still insanely hard to beat. But that's not why we're talking about Dram today. What we're focused on is the fact that Dram55 also accomplished this speedrun.
All right, time when you see Peach, time.
This is Dram speedrunning Kaizo Mario World at AGDQ 2015, beating the game from start to finish in front of a live audience in only 24 minutes and 35 seconds. He had just beaten 9 straight levels of Kaizo Mario World without resetting, with the pressure of knowing a ton of people were watching on Twitch, in less time than the longest episode of The Simpsons. If the whole world was so convinced that this game was impossible without resorting to the use of save states, then how could he have pulled off this insane feat? The audience weren't the only people wondering about that. Another Super Mario World speedrunner and tasser named PangaeaPanga had his eyes set on this run too, and it got him thinking something that no other Mario level creator before him had thought. What if the levels were really hard, but still fun? Super Dram World was Panga's answer to that question.
There's definitely the fun aspect, but there's also definitely the suffering aspect, since that's, you know, the nature of Kaizo. I mean, like, that's why the guy made Kaizo in the first place. He wanted his friend to suffer, so as a result, I wanted the friends that I made over the years to suffer playing what I made, but also, you know, have fun.
Panga's hack wore its Kaizo Mario World influences plainly on its sleeve, even sometimes having the same level archetypes in the same order. But Dram World had a significant level of polish that was lacking from Kaizo Mario World. The level design of Takamoto's hack was sound, if cruel at times, but the aesthetics were rough. Panga wanted to elevate what Kaizo Mario World had accomplished, both in terms of fun and playability, as well as visual clarity and appeal. Level 1 of Kaizo Mario World and Dram World start out very similarly, with a stack of bullets aimed directly at Mario. But it doesn't take too long for the aesthetic differences to emerge between the levels. The first thing we'll see are a lot of these. One of the main obstacles in many Kaizo Mario hacks, not just the original, are these black plants. They're called munchers, and if Mario touches them, he takes damage. Since one of the hallmarks of Kaizo as a genre is limiting power-ups, or making sure that Mario stays small, this usually just means death outright. Even though the muncher is a chomping mouth, it doesn't actually matter where Mario touches the muncher. If he makes contact with it in any way, the result is the same. So, since the utility of the muncher wouldn't change regardless of how they were placed, Takamoto just decided that he would stack the munchers on top of one another, line ceilings with right side up munchers, and in one level, do this.
Oh my goodness!
Panga, on the other hand, had different ideas. He decided that he wanted his levels to look more coherent, have munchers only lining walls, floors, and ceilings where they absolutely need to be, and actually place them in such a way that they appear to be growing from walls and ceilings, instead of allowing them to float mysteriously. This focus on designing levels to be more aesthetically pleasing was evident all throughout the hack. In addition to the munchers being placed more organically, there were also fewer empty voids and much less reliance on using cement blocks to fill out levels, making them feel more grounded and real, which I am aware sounds silly. This is a Mario game we're talking about, but that's just the thing. Focusing on polish actually makes a considerable difference in making a ROM hack feel like a real video game, like a real Mario game, rather than something that was made by one guy with a level editor. Panga's stages also flowed a bit better and featured fewer obstacles that were purposely unfair. And even though the game still featured many invisible blocks, it was clear that Panga was rooting for the player to win, rather than tenting his fingers and cackling as the player fell down yet another pit. Though there are some notable exceptions. Even with all of this in mind, though, how could this hack possibly be considered the most important Mario hack of all time? Well,
All right, I'm gonna count it down, and yeah, let's go. 3, 2, 1, go!
This is Grand Pooh Bear, and unbeknownst to him, he is currently having the biggest night of his career. The year is 2017. AGDQ is at the height of its popularity, and Pooh is about to do an any % speedrun of Super Dram World in front of an audience of over 200,000 people. The levels being shown off were slick and had the humor factor from Kaizo 1. The commentary from the couch featured the man who created the game, and perhaps most importantly of all, Grand Pooh Bear himself was extremely charismatic while crushing a game that was impossibly difficult. This was a time period where Kaizo was still a new concept to people, and the levels being played on stream were mind-blowing. The fact that it could be done live without save states and with natural commentary made it all the better, and couple that with the fact that Mario Maker had exploded in popularity on Twitch and YouTube, partially thanks to Panga's own sadistic levels, and you had a recipe for success. More than that, though, Pooh made the game look like it was actually doable. Super Mario World is a game that an insane number of people are familiar with, and watching him play through these levels, it wasn't all that hard to imagine yourself doing it too. Speedruns at AGDQ oftentimes look daunting to people who are unfamiliar with the run because runners have a habit of breaking the game into tiny pieces, ultimately transforming a familiar experience into something alien and unapproachable. But Pooh's run of Super Dram World was just him playing a game many of us already knew, but playing it really, really well. Thanks to popular streamers and Mario Maker content creators, difficult Mario levels were already on the rise in popularity. But this run of this game helped to put a massive spotlight onto Super Mario World specifically. And that spotlight's effects were more than just garnering attention for a 30-year-old children's game. The shift in mindset from these games are virtually impossible and we can only play them with tools, to the current mindset of these games are difficult, but they're meant to be played and beaten just like any other game, was an invaluable asset to growing a community around Super Mario World fan projects. That mindset shift also allowed players' skill levels to balloon out of control. The things that people are able to accomplish in Super Mario World these days are frankly shocking. From mechanically challenging levels that nobody would have even dared to approach, much less create, to bosses that should by all means be impossible without at least the use of slowdown, to some of the most gorgeous hand-drawn passion projects you will ever see. But I would wager that none of this would have been accomplished if the stagnant mindset of pre-Super Dram World had been allowed to remain. I'm not going to pretend, though. It's definitely hyperbole to say that Super Dram World is solely responsible for the rise in popularity of Kaizo as a genre. Super Mario Maker still would have featured some of the most insane levels in the history of gaming, and Lunar Magic still would have existed for people to tinker with. But without Dram World, another legendary Mario player named LinkDeadX2 wouldn't have created his Dram World revenge hack, Super Panga World. And obviously, Panga wouldn't have created the sequel, Dram World 2, without the first one. And Dram World 2 was a hack that made notorious Mario Maker level creator Barbarous King so angry that he created his own hack called Grand Pooh World out of spite as a response. And without that hack, you wouldn't be watching this video right now. The combination of Grand Pooh Bear's Super Dram World speedrun at AGDQ 2017 and Barbarous King releasing Grand Pooh World were what got me into watching and playing Kaizo hacks. And that is a story that's echoed by a startling number of viewers, players, and creators alike. Super Dram World started a genuine domino effect that was crucial in molding the Kaizo Mario landscape into what it is today. It would be easy to say that since Kaizo Mario World inspired Dram World, Kaizo Mario World has to be the most important hack. In fact, that's the opinion of Panga himself. But at the time that Dram World dropped, 15 years after the release of Lunar Magic, SMW Central shows that there were only 7 Kaizo hacks, including Dram. Takamoto's trilogy of Kaizo Mario World 1, 2, and 3 are missing from that list as they were re-uploaded at a later date, but that still means that there were only 10 total hacks after 15 years, and most of them weren't made with the intention of being played without save states. Today, only 10 years after Dram World's release, there are over 1,000 Kaizo Mario ROM hacks. From new level creators to people who have been doing it for nearly a decade, it's hard to find just about anyone who hasn't been influenced by the game in some way. And that's why I think Super Dram World may just be the most important Mario hack of all time.
I'm not too big on like, oh, I did all this, but I'll say that's probably one of the few things I've done that are like, yeah, it's made an impact on the SMW community. So having the opportunity to not open my own eyes, but I guess open up a bunch of other people's eyes about how Kaizo won, or their mentality of Kaizo won, how it's not really meant to be played without like tools and stuff. As that mindset has grown, the number of hacks released have grown. So I'm really glad that I was able to, I guess, start it.
Before you run out and download Super Dram World, I really do want to emphasize this. If you want to get into playing Kaizo Super Mario World hacks, it almost doesn't matter which one you start with. It's going to kick your butt. These games are ludicrously difficult, and even top gamers and other 2D platformers get kind of destroyed when trying to pick them up.
I hate Barb. I f***ing hate him.
This isn't to discourage you or to say that you shouldn't try to play them. It's more so just a disclaimer that just because you're good at video games, it doesn't mean that your skills will transfer straight over to this genre of video games. If this video encourages you to pick up your first Kaizo hack, maybe even Super Dram World, which was my first Kaizo hack, I wish you the best of luck. The skill level of top players these days dwarfs what people were capable of back when Dram World came out. And many of the ROM hacks being released by level creators today make old hacks look like they were created in a cave with a box of scraps. But the effects of Takamoto's original hacks and Super Dram World can still be felt to this day. There aren't too many hacks that have had the level of impact that Super Dram World has had over the years, but there are a few that have also reshaped the landscape of Kaizo for years to come. And I firmly believe that there are loads of other games that deserve to have their story told in one way or another too. I love fan games, ROM hacks, original works of art and music, and any other creative pursuits that extend the life of a piece of media far beyond what's expected, and I would love to shed some light on these underappreciated gems. I have personally played a ludicrous amount of fan projects at this point, and I don't intend to stop anytime soon. I'd like to thank PangaeaPanga for helping me out in making this video, both in providing me details on how the hack was made and giving his insights into what he thinks of the current state of Kaizo and SMW in general. Like, one of the details I wasn't able to shoehorn into the video is that he actually made Dram World in 2 weeks, which by today's standards, where hacks can easily take over a year to complete, is completely mental. I'll leave links to his channel down below if you've never watched any of his stuff. I highly recommend it. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe to give my life some much needed meaning, and stay tuned. I really want to do more videos highlighting ROM hacks, fan games, creative levels, and stories that deserve to be told, and I hope you guys want to hear them as well. Thanks for watching.